clearly you don't know that you never give Bent O'Leary the microphone. That's dangerous. I don't know about you, but I really enjoyed everything I heard this morning. I think the organizers deserve a big round of applause so far. And we're only halfway there. There's a lot of good stuff to come. So I wondered all along why they invited me to come and be the keynote speaker. Business and all that kind of stuff, and you've got judges and state senators and some very accomplished people here who can speak. And so anyway, here I am. I'm just a humble pastor. A pastor means that I get to look good. In fact, not only do I get to look good, I get paid to do good. And not only that, the people who pay me to do good pay me to encourage them to do good for nothing. What a job. So, there's an old pastor's joke. Pastor gets up and he said, I was concentrating so much on my sermon that I cut myself shaving. Then he gives a sermon and one of the congregation comes up to him and says, Pastor, next week, why don't you concentrate on your shaving and cut your sermon? So I'm very conscious of time. I don't want to be here more than my 2 hours that you give to me. So very interesting that everybody is trying to tell you what to do with your life. Everywhere you go, there's billboards, there's TV advertisements telling you, you buy this, go here, vote for this. Everyone's trying to get you to do what they want you to do. And there's all this information, this conversation that's coming to you all the time. But the most important conversation that's going on is the one that's going on in your own head. What are you telling yourself? I think Ray Martin called it mind chatter. Some of us call it mindless chatter. It just goes on and on, right? There's a voice going on in your head all the time. That's the most important voice. That voice is going to determine what you're going to do with yourself. That voice is going to determine, what you think about, because what you think about determines how you feel. And what you feel determines how you're going to act. So what you're thinking about is vitally important. It's the most important thing going on. In the book of Proverbs, it says, as a man thinks in his heart, so he is. So what are you thinking about all the time? Do you ever get tired of that voice in your head? Do you ever want to just tell yourself, shut up already, leave me alone, go away? But we can't go away. So what you're telling yourself, what's going on inside, is so important. I remember many years ago fundraising, and I came upon this tattoo shop. And, I thought, I'll get another tattoo. No. On the outside of the shop, it had a big diagram of this, the number one selling tattoo, it said, born loser. And I couldn't believe it. I go inside and I asked the old guy, I said, do people really get that tattooed on themselves? Born loser? He said, it's number one. But he said this profound statement. They only get it because it's already written on the inside. It's already on the inside. That's why they get it tattooed on the outside. I met this kid, 8 years old. I was taking a walk near my house. There's a trail by the bay in San Francisco. And I go out there, and there's hundreds of people out there for a charity run. And I was on a charity walk, but they were on a charity run. And I come across this 8-year-old kid crying. And he's crying, and nobody's taking any notice. So I, tried to comfort him, and I said, "What's up?" And he said, "When the race started, I was in the front. And then everybody overtook me." And I'm saying, like, "Well, that's okay. It's not really a race. It's just it's a fundraiser. And it's great that you're even out here. And, thank you for trying." He said, No. Everybody's going to think I'm a loser." "No, people don't think that. People are happy that you came out." And no, they're all thinking I'm a loser right now. I spent 15 minutes with this kid. I couldn't get him to change his mind. I remember as I was walking away, I was thinking, that kid's a loser. His prophecy came true. I literally felt that. What a loser, that kid. I wonder where he's going to end up. But I know lots of people like that. I met a guy, my wife and I, 6 o'clock in the morning, we stopped by the 7-Eleven store to get a cup of coffee and a newspaper. My wife stays in the car. I go out. There's a guy coming to the door, same time as myself. He was muttering to himself. So I thought, okay, I'll try and cheer him up. And I said, "Hey, how's it going? Good morning." He said, "The CIA are out to get me." Okay. So I go in the 7-Eleven. It's not a very big store, right? He's following me around the 7-Eleven, telling me about helicopters. That the reason they're up there is they're watching him. And there's something coming out of the television that's getting to his brain. And he's going on and on about this stuff with the CIA. And I'm like, okay, I'm just getting my coffee, But he latched onto me because I showed some kindness to him. So finally he says to me, he said, "So what do you do?" I said, "I work for the CIA." That got rid of him. But most of us have this. Anybody old enough to remember records? Vinyl records? I think they're making a comeback now. These vinyl records, you put a needle on them. If they got a scratch, what would happen? They'd keep going over and over the same thing. I can't get no, I can't get no, I can't get. It'd go on and on. But most of us are like that in our head. It's like a scratch in our head. We keep repeating the same stupid stuff over and over again. It just goes on and on and on. And, most of us don't mutter out verbally, but we're muttering inside of our heads. I don't know if you feel the CIA is out to get you or not, but, we mutter stuff in our heads all the time. What you're saying to yourself is so vitally important to your success in life. How are you going to live your life? What you talk about to yourself. There's an old story about a Jewish man at the time of the Roman Empire. He comes across a Roman soldier who stops him, and the soldier says, "Hey, who are you and what are you doing?" And this rich Jewish guy says, "That's brilliant." He said, "I'll come by here every day and I'll pay you to ask me that question. Who are you and what are you doing?" That's the question we all ask ourselves. Who am I and what am I doing? What's my life all about? We want to know, who am I, don't we? Where I fit in. At the end of World War II, when prisoners of war were coming home from Indochina to England, many of them had lost their minds. So they couldn't even remember who they were. They couldn't remember who their family was or where they came from. There was over 50 like that. So in the London City Hall, they put an ad in the newspaper, "Come to the London City Hall, we've got all these people who are unclaimed. Come and see if one of them is yours." So all these prisoners of war come, and people who've lost their relatives came. And the first guy gets up and he's crying and he says, "Does anybody know who I am?" That's the question we're all asking, isn't it? Does anybody know who I am? Do I know who I am? That's what we're talking about inside of us. Who am I? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? You got to solve this problem inside of you of having the right voice, saying the right things. So, this is like a business conference, right? I don't know much about business. Once upon a time, I had a shark fishing business. It didn't work out very well for me. And, I don't recommend it. But I learned a lot from sharks. Sharks are the most amazing creatures. I learned that I used to catch sharks for Monterey Bay Aquarium and some aquariums down here in LA. And some people would buy them and put them in their home aquarium. And the question always comes up. Okay, they buy a little shark like this, they put it in an aquarium. Isn't it going to grow to 6 feet long? What are you going to do in your home when that shark gets, humongous? But the shark adapts to its environment. The shark adapts to where it is. If you put a small shark in a small environment, it won't grow. It'll recognize this is my limit. If you put it in the ocean, it'll grow to 6 feet, 7 feet, whatever it can. But it adapts to the environment. Also, sharks are very powerful animals. Even a little baby shark is incredibly tough. And I figured out why. It's because they don't have bones, they have cartilage. Cartilage is flexible. Bone is rigid. So a shark can bend its body and the cartilage moves, and that's what gives it power. So in our own lives, adapting to what we've got, what is in my environment, instead of wishing for something else, is important. How much time do you spend in your head wishing you were somewhere else, doing something else? I wish I had. Anybody wish they had won the lottery? Or wish, I'd been born in a rich family or something? We got to adapt to our environment. We got to be flexible. When you got flexibility, you have power. If you're rigid, you get stuck. And I'm telling you, life is all about being flexible. Nothing stays the same. The talks that I heard this morning, I was thinking to myself, investing in real estate, probably 5 years from now, you better adapt to the situation going forward. It's going to change. 5 years ago, it was different. We've got to be always adapting. We've got to be always flexible. The world needs that. If you're rigid with like a bone, you're going to miss opportunities. You're going to get run over. You can get really bent out of shape over things changing. Don't expect things to stay the same. They're not going to. They can get better and better, but you've got to be able to be adaptable and flexible. In our church, actually, it's very good training. So if you want to join my church, I notice people from our church really have a lot of good training about being adaptable. Even today, the lunch suddenly came at totally the wrong time. Nobody got bent out of shape. Everybody, just adapts to it and flexible. But I've seen this over and over again with people who have training. Anybody know Larry Krishnak? So Larry Krishnak told me this story the other week. His father died. His father's an old man. He died. So he goes to the funeral home with Larry with his brothers and sisters, and they go to view the body in the funeral home. And they go in, and his sister goes first, and his sister gets freaked out. And she starts wailing. And Larry's like, what? So Larry goes up to the coffin, and his dad has green drumsticks in his hand and 4 bottles of Mountain Dew around him. And his sister was freaked out why they did that. So Larry goes and asks the guy, they had just messed up the order. It was supposed to be a young inner city black kid who liked drumming and Mountain Dew. Instead, they put the dad like that. But Larry said, he just rolled with it. He said, my dad would love this. His sister wanted to sue the funeral home. Not adaptable at all. What a difference. We got to be, adaptable and flexible. The other thing I learned from sharks is keep moving forward. 2 weeks ago, the Pope was in the country, and he made a new saint. You know who the new saint was? Yeah. From California, Junipero Serra. His motto in life was, siempre adelante. Keep moving forward. Sharks only move forward. They have no reverse. And they keep moving. They never stop. They don't stop to sleep. They just sleep as they move. They just keep moving forward. And, when I dealt with sharks a lot, I learned you don't put them in a tank with a corner. It's got to be a rounded tank. If you put it with a corner, they just keep banging their heads into the corner until their noses become red. They've got to keep moving forward, and they look at that may be the way out. But they're relentless. Sharks are relentless in moving forward. They never stop. I got this one lady who's relentless. She's from India. She sends me a letter every single month. She sends me a letter with 2 pictures of herself and an introduction that I'm supposed to give to Pierce Brosnan. Do you know who Pierce Brosnan is? James Bond. Somehow she has it in her mind that I do matchings of people, and I'm English, so I must know Pierce Brosnan. She sends me this letter month after month after month. Ask, does anybody know Pierce? I've got to go see this guy. He lives in LA, doesn't he? But this lady's relentless. I've written back to her and said, lady, you're nuts. But she doesn't listen. She's relentless. She just keeps on going. I found sharks are like that. And I found that winners are like that. Almost, block out reality. I'm going for my goal. That's it. I'm keeping on going. All of you need to quit the Quitters Club. Okay? Quit the Quitters Club. You know the Quitters Club? Well, they don't meet anymore because everybody quit. They don't have any money because everybody quit paying their dues. But many of us are part of the Quitters Club. When things get tough, we quit. We need stick-to-it-ness. I'm making up names. We need to have relentless movement forward. Keep moving. Stop giving up. Hanayo in the last session said when she learned from SDF, when people say no, it doesn't mean anything. Anybody learn that from fundraising? Oh, no? Okay. If you let no get to you, what happens? You're done. I was terrible. Somebody said no. I'm like, why? They don't like me. Oh, no. Oh, I think I'll go eat some worms. Oh. Never give up. Outside the Golden Gate Bridge is one of the biggest great white shark breeding grounds in the world. Great white sharks. One day we caught a 90-pound great white shark. And we pulled it onto the boat. And it was sitting on the deck. And, any kind of fish out of water, what happens? It's going to die. This thing was sitting for over 6 hours. just sitting there. Finally, one of the people on the boat was just walking by the shark. It spun around and went for him. Didn't bite him, but scraped, its teeth on the legs. This thing didn't know it's dead. Never give up. Like a shark, never give up. Also, develop thick skin. You got to have thick skin in this world. I'm a people pleaser. People pleasers are always broke. That's the way it is. People pleasers, I'm not saying be obnoxious, but you got to have some thick skin. You got to be ready to do what you need to do. You ever touched a shark before? Their skin is amazing. Amazing. You can rub off rust from metal with the skin of a shark. Absolutely amazing. We need to develop thick skin. When I first became a pastor, I didn't know anything. I was in Ocean Church. I never even went to church. Suddenly, hey, you're the pastor. Oh, okay. Do you ever wonder why our church wasn't that successful? Anyway. So suddenly I'm the pastor. I don't know nothing. So I learned about this preaching conference. So I go to this preaching conference. There's 60 pastors there. And, the really strong, fundamentalist pastors. It was very good. I was learning a lot. But as the conference went on, I kept thinking, God, I hope nobody asks me what church I'm with. I'll probably say Ocean Church. Well, that'll confuse them. I kept thinking that all day. Oh, God. Because I'm thinking they're going to persecute me. They won't like me. They won't. Ugh. And, I kept thinking, I got to leave early. I got to get out of here. But something kept pushing me to stay. And they had this jar, if you put your business card in, at the end of the day, the people who were left, there was going to be a drawing of all this computer software. This was back in the day when they had big floppy disks. Remember those? So something pushed me to stay right till the very end. And I'm, thinking, I wonder if I win that. Got 1 in 60 chance. So, sure enough, the drawing at the end, they pick out my name. And the idea was, you're going to get this big box of computer software to do with how to run a church, but you also get to come up front and tell these other 59 pastors who has been the most influential person in your life and what's so great about your church. I remember the drawing, I'm thinking, don't pick me. I like people to like me. I knew if I get up in front of these people, I'm done, But it was like a voice going off in my head. Don't be a wimp. What a wimp you are. Jeez. And I'm like, shut up, will you? So I got these two voices, Be bold. Shut up. Be a wimp. Shut up. I was dying. So they pick out my name. Okay, Rev Kevin Thompson, come on up. So I go up, and the guy's got the box, and I walk towards him, and he said, what's the name of your church? It was decision time for me. I said, the Unification Church. He had the box. He stepped back. He wasn't going to give it to me. He wasn't. I grabbed it and... What the... And I'm supposed to have 7 minutes to explain who's the most influential person in my life and what's great about my church. He said, you've got 2 minutes. It's okay. I took 7, even though he said 2. And, so I'm explaining the greatest person, not only in my life, the greatest person who ever lived is Reverend Sun Myung Moon. And I'm looking at all these people, and the blood is going from their face. and I said, what's great about our church? Our church is run by a couple. It's run by a husband and wife. It's not a male-dominated church. And I just laid it on thick to them. And I knew they hate my guts. But I don't care at this point. So I get away with my box. And as I'm leaving, this was the end of the conference, as I'm leaving, 5 different people came up to me. One was a Scientologist. One was a Mormon. One was a Swedenborgian. I forget what they all were. They were all having the same experience as me. Oh, I don't want to reveal who I am. And they all said, man, you've got guts. Yeah. I usually don't have that much guts, but anyway, that particular time I did.
Probably a Unitarian or a Christian Scientist.
Something like that. This conversation going on in your head is what you must dominate. You must dominate this conversation. I read a biography of FDR. What's his name? Franklin, sorry. He had this funny story. He said, you know, he'd always stand in, he'd have to be in these receiving lines to greet ambassadors and famous people. And he said it'd always be so noisy and, you know, nobody can hear what anybody's saying. So he said, just for fun one time, he started saying, you know, I killed my grandmother this morning. Hi, I killed my grandmother this morning. And people would go, good job, good job. Keep it up, keep it up. Yeah, you're doing good, you're doing good. The Japanese ambassador was the only one who heard him. And the Japanese ambassador said she probably deserved it. The purpose of life is very simple: to live, to love, and to matter. To live, to love, and to matter. The 3 blessings in plain English. You've got to be fully alive to have a great life. You've got to stop listening to the junk in your head. You've got to really become alive, and every day, every moment is precious. Every moment is precious. And when you're listening to the wrong voices in your head, they're killing you. They're killing your spirit. They're killing your ability to love other people. And they're killing your ability to matter in the world, to do something of significance. Anybody ever heard the Dostoevsky story? You know, the great writer? He was arrested by the Tsar of Russia. And the Tsar of Russia would arrest people who were against him, and they'd do this crazy thing where they'd blindfold people and put them against the wall, and then they'd hear the guns loading, and then gonna die, and the guns would go off, and it would be blanks, and then they'd take the blindfold off, and people would be psychologically damaged by this experience. But Dostoevsky said he was arrested the night before, and he said, suddenly everything became alive for me. He said, I noticed everything, how beautiful the world is. Even the guards, I noticed that they are so magnificent people. The sunshine in the morning, he said, just to let the sun hit his face was wonderful. His supposed last meal, he tasted every morsel with gratitude. He said, for the first time in my life, I was fully alive. So, do you have the blindfolds? I think we're going to do a little bit of that. We got to be fully alive to be able to fully love and to matter in our life. I saw a YouTube video of a 96-year-old yoga teacher. This lady had life, you know, oozing out of her, just alive. And she was asked, what's the secret of the joy that you have? She said, I guard my mind relentlessly. I don't let anything negative come into my mind. Good advice for all of us. Guard your mind Fill your mind with good stuff. That's what all religions are teaching us. Start your day off by reading something good. Put something good in there so your mind is already going in a good direction. Because it's so easy to get caught up in stuff and life just happens and you can get negative. Somebody asked my wife last week, do you wake up grumpy in the morning? She said, no, I let him sleep. Some of you are grumpy until you get your first cup of coffee. But we really need to be, not just relying on coffee. We need to rely on good words that inspire our life, that bring us alive. Because when you are alive, you can love everybody. We have that capacity to love everybody. When you are grumpy and miserable, you cannot even love yourself, never mind anyone else. And making something of your life, first it becomes from within. Don't have tattooed within you, born loser. Have tattooed within you, born winner. Had you? God bless you.